I'm going to start this video off with Exploring with Dash's latest video, where he's going through an old VHS rental store. But most of the VHS tapes are still there. This place looked like it probably closed down, maybe in the 90s or something. Part of the building is left it wide open where it's exposed to the weather, and a lot of the stuff is ruined in there. He's going through some of the LP records. Now, you can still buy brand new LP records. People are still making them. There are people that are well, listen to LP records in the days of, where you can download everything and put it on, a USB drive or micro SD card, or just leave it on your hard drive and play it on your hard drive. People still do listen. People still listen to LP records. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some probably 80-year-old lady that still has, either maybe an 8-track player or, reel-to-reel, quarter-inch reel-to-reel audio tape. I remember when when I was a kid, that's what all around was, quarter-inch audio reel-to-reel tape. 8-track tapes came out in the '60s. They were popular, through the '60s, '70s, and I had pickup with a portable a 12-volt DC 8-track player. Those were common in the day. There's only a handful of people that even know what they are. I'm surprised that Josh, really wasn't really familiar with LP records. They didn't have a phonograph player. I'm kind of thinking he probably some of the tapes he probably some of the tapes that he said he liked. He probably swiped those. I suspect that place has probably been vandalized, and I think somebody's probably just got to go in and bulldoze all that. So the tapes are probably going to end up in the bottom of a landfill somewhere. So I don't think, of course, it's possible somebody I think if somebody was really worried about him, somebody would have gone through there. If somebody that owned the property was worried about them, they would have gone through there and took it and salvaged what they could, then bulldoze the rest. So I don't think, I wouldn't consider that stealing because I think it's been wide open. The one thing I was kind of waiting for, and I'll tell you the reason it probably wasn't there. Now, there was, I've covered this once before. There was, I don't remember the time frame that I had visited this store. Actually, a friend of mine was visiting a doctor next door. So I said, well, I'm just going to wander around this, this videotape or rental store. And I was just looking at some of the, the common, it's one of those little mom and pop stores that you'd have to, it wasn't one of the big chains, but anyway, I just kidding this lady. I said, where's your adult section? And I expected to get the answer from her. Said, sir, but this is a family-run place. We don't carry stuff like that. But instead, she handed me a key and pointed to a locked door in the back. There were a handful of stores like that, that saved the adult stuff for the, by adult, I'm keeping this kid friendly, and I'm hoping that we are all adults here, and you know what I'm talking about. Now that she handed me the key, so I opened the door and went back here, and sure enough, that stuff was back here. So that's not kid-friendly type stuff. That's the reason they keep it locked behind closed doors, locked doors. But anyway, I was kind of expecting that in this rental store that Josh was going through. But there's also, on the upstairs part of this building, looked like there was a bunch of Bibles and maybe somebody set up a church or a chapel or something. So these may be fairly religious people, so they might not have been interested in that type of videotapes. Just my thoughts on it. Anyway, let me get to my next thing on this list here. I'll get to psychics in a minute here. Now, on the new cars, there's two different videos. I was watching the latest one from Sarah in Tune, which is asking the question, have cars gotten too sophisticated? Is there too much electronics on new cars? Another video I was watching on the 2026 cars, buried down in the software, and this probably goes back a few years, buried down in the software, there's programming that will start limiting, according to this video, it's not something I've got personal knowledge of, some of the features, will start shutting down after the car gets older. They'll deliberately try to cap some of the features, as the car gets a bit older. I'm kind of thinking people will, go in there and hack some of the more technical-minded people will kind of go in there and hack some of the software so they don't lose some of those features. Now, I don't know what all that they offer because I don't think I'd ever buy a 2026 vehicle. Or, I probably won't live long enough for the vehicles to get to the point where I'm going to want to drive anything that's out, not now it's new. But anyway, I'm kind of thinking the cars have gotten too sophisticated. There's too much electronics on it, too much crap to go wrong. One of Murphy's laws says the more complicated something is, the more likely it is to break. Let's see. Let me get to psychics. Now there was. I was watching a video from the Why Files. I was kind of coming on psychics. I've met one or two psychics. I've met some that were just full of crap, that were just in it for the money. I say the vast majority of people doing that type of thing are just in it for the money. They're just for entertainment value. And I had one guy that told me, said, "Oh, that's all the work of the devil. That's all evil and all that." And if that's what you want to believe, that's what you want to believe. Now, for me, I think that the vast majority of psychics aren't real. Now, but there are a few gifted psychics. There are a few people that do have do have that psychic mental ability. I'm asking my viewers, what do you think? What do you think on psychics? Do you believe them? Or are you a psychic? Do you have psychic powers where you can? Maybe you're watching my video because I touch on that periodically. Do you have psychic abilities where you can predict the future? You can talk to our loved ones that have passed on. Now, again, I've been to psychic sessions. Jan Ross used to do stuff like that. I'll cover Jan Ross before, and I'll cover again. She's gone. Her daughters had a bookstore over in Glendale, but I don't think that's open anymore. But hey, if you want to, Jan Ross's twin daughters watching my videos, hey, definitely get a hold of me, because I'd like to sit down and do a collab video with you. I don't remember your names, but Jan Ross had two twin daughters. I met them briefly, but didn't get to know them. But anyway, I think they were just a bit psychic. Now, if you're real psychic and can actually talk to the dead, if you can, predict the future, that type of thing. Now, it's not 100%. Nothing ever is, even in that field. Anyway, if you're psychic or if you believe in it, let me know. Or if you think it's of the devil, if you think it's all crap, all bunk, hey, let me know. I'm just curious. Some of my viewers on that, some of my viewers, what your take on is on that. I'm not gonna question you on it. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. If you think it's of the devil, if you're a religious person, I think it's of the devil. That's your right to believe that. Next thing I'm gonna cover everything. Now, let me get back to Sarah, Wandering Gypsy, and whoever commented on my video. This video is it's from a couple of years ago. It's titled "My Comments on My Comment for Sarah, Wandering Gypsy," or "My Message," or something like that. If you can tell in the video, I was pretty upset because that's been 2 years ago, and I got over that about 2 days after I made the video. I'm a big boy. I've gone on, but I'm thinking maybe Sarah wants to do a collab video with me, but she doesn't want to do anything. Now, what she could do is, like some of these little towns around the Southwest here, do the David Freiberger type, where you pick up, so you go to some of these small towns, ghost towns, maybe some of them. A lot of them still have a handful of people in there, but there'll be some of these old garages where there's old cars and stuff around there. Now, I'd love to do one like that. If Sarah wants to do a collab video with me on a place like, or if anyone else wants to do a collab video with me, where we drive to some of these old, small towns. They don't necessarily have to be a total ghost town. A lot of these towns will have, a handful of old timers that have been there for years and years. There's old garages that still have old cars. Some of the old signs are still out there, but these places have been closed down for years and years. There's an old Pepsi box sitting out in front. It says Pepsi for 25 cents or something. Some old gas pumps out in front. The gas, 37 cents a gallon. Maybe they have the old pump that says ethyl on there. Hey, how many people remember when we had, instead of like the 93 octane gas, it said ethyl? That was the high grade. It had more tetraethyl. It had a higher grade of tetraethyl lead in there. How many people remember leaded gasoline when gasoline had tetraethyl lead in there? You got to be an old timer. You got to have a few gray hairs on your head to remember days like that. I'm talking about maybe 60, 70, something like that. If some chick wants to do some of these old towns that still have the old gas pumps, that still have the old cars thing out front, then you have no idea who owns these cars. And I'm thinking somebody probably is able to contact some of the owners in some of these stations and say, do you have the titles on these? I'd like to restore one of these. I'm thinking that probably does happen. Somebody finds the owner and says, somebody says, well, you can have that car for $500. Just haul it out of there. Hey, would you haul the rest of them out of there? Because I'd like to clear that land off. And, big developer wants to come in there, but, they don't want to take the effort of hauling everything away. Something like that. If Sarah wants to do if you check, I know you're watching my videos. If you feel bad about that video, I don't personally, but if you want to make it up there, if you feel that you want to do it, you got do a collab video with me where we're doing something we both find interesting. Look, we can find something interesting. You got my words of gentleman. I keep my hands to myself. Unless you let me know there's something else you want. You got my word as a gentleman. I swear before the God I believe in. Okay. If you want more, I got the King James Version of the Bible my grandma gave me when I was 5 years old. I've got that. I swear on that. Let me know. Don't make comments on videos that are 2 years old, to get attention from me. You can be an adult and just approach me and say, James, we can be friends. We can go make videos together. We can do a few collab videos together. We can both do platonic common interest videos. Okay. Still love this crazy world. Bye for now. Ciao, vaya con Dios, mahalo, das Vistanya, auf Wiedersehen, Orva. I've covered the ones I know.